It is New Year's Day, my friend. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to the listeners. We thank you for listening all year long, but I can't believe it's 2025. And we've got a good topic to kick us off. And this is a topic you came up with, and I think it's a great topic because it applies to so many different areas of life and business, primarily started and known more so in the financial markets, but it's all about arbitrage. And arbitrage essentially is the differences in creating value, like buying and selling a security or equity or something like that, and then profiting it somewhere else for the exact same item or whatever it is. So you brought this topic to the table. I think it's a great one. We've done some research. We're going to share some stories and some ideas around arbitrage and how that all works and why it's important. So what made you think of this, my friend?
Yeah, it was another podcast, which we're gonna do an episode in the future on, how we generate ideas and what's really shaping us. But I want to say it was Hormozi talking about arbitrage, and it just got my wheels spinning, how it applies to everything in life and everything that we're talking about on this podcast. And before we jump into arbitrage, another quote that resounded on the same day was this. A Frenchman named Andre Gide said, "Everything that needs to be said has already been said. But since no one was listening, everything must be said again." And that, I think, speaks so well to what we're doing in the podcast space and finding other concepts that we can connect dots to keep the messages and keep our fundamentals on the growth pattern. So in the sense of arbitrage, you popped in my mind right away because it really is the definition of opportunity is everywhere. The folks that are building and creating in this world see something of value that they can get somewhere at a specific cost. There's no eyes on it. It's kind of under the table. They bring it to a different market, up the price or the foreseen value, and they build a business on it. And you maintain a P&L, and that is literally business in a nutshell, which you just did a great episode on in Business 101. But this idea of arbitrage doesn't just apply to business. It really is everything around our personal life. What is something that we can either partake in or implement in our life that has a higher value at a different time and keeps paying for itself? And we get back into the concept of compound interest, et cetera. But that was kind of the nucleus of it. And the word arbitrage is just such a good word, like a strong word. Just going to say, can't wait to say it 17 times on this podcast.
It's not a word I use in my vocabulary very often, but it is definitely, it's an opportunistic approach. And sometimes being opportunistic can come with negative connotations
100%.
Because now you're just like, you're taking advantage of the system or whatever, but it's also it's leveraging undervalued markets or commodities or things in your life that you can bring to the market that, well, now people want to pay a premium for, right? And, I think of like time arbitrage in your personal life, like leveraging your time. Well, if I'm going to find the tools and resources that are going to give back more time in my day, that's a form of arbitrage to focus on the things that really matter as opposed to the mundane tasks or whatever. So it's a form of arbitrage where I know my priorities and things matter here, and I can charge a premium, and meaning giving more time to those things. Instead, I need to find the areas I'm spending so much time on, and how do I streamline those, and what are the efficiencies that I can find so that way, and whether it's outsourcing or whether it's through tools like AI or software or technology, whatever it is, you can do that both personally and professionally. And so I think, to kick us off, time arbitrage. I don't know if you had a format that you wanted to kick us off with, but that's where I think is a good way to start of, what are some of the ways that you bring efficiencies in your life to open the door up and give more time back in your day for those opportunities to really focus?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll pick up right there on time before I just want to chime in on what you just said about the negative connotation, because you're spot on, had the same kind of visceral reaction. And I think it's because when we think of arbitrage, we think about Wall Street. Wall Street doesn't have the best connotation for most people. However, these markets are how the world go round. And people don't like the concept of just moving money around and taking a profit for it. But that is the concept, whether you like that on Wall Street or not, you're doing it in your personal life. And time is a great way to start in that regard. And for me, from a time perspective, I've gone back and forth when we talk about starting the day. This has been top of mind lately and is total arbitrage, where I've fluctuated between a morning routine that you talk about a lot. And that's where I started my self-development journey on, where a lot of people do. And along the way, I switched it to time arbitrage is just jumping into work first thing of the day, those early hours when it's quiet and not wasting those. But now I found myself in this cycle going back to finding more arbitrage in using that time to get clear, set intention, and focus on my state. So these are seasons like we talk about, but from a time perspective, you have to decide what your cycles are and when you work the best on what specific tasks. That is the arbitrage we're looking for. The energy used during a specific time that's going to result in the most output. So for me, as of right now, getting back into the morning routine of the early hours spent on, of course, wake, water, and what I'm trying to do today with the intention. Those are the three non-negotiables, even when I was jumping straight into work. But now the arbitrage there is the rest of the day, I am feeding off of that juice of getting the sunlight, getting my heart rate's already up. And that is arbitrage because that energy is pumping through every task that I'm doing throughout the day. So how about yourself? What are some of the time arbitrage that you're thinking of, especially coming out of such a busy season in regard to the year end in the payroll business?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. So wake up and, how you value your time, the differences in time versus let's say competitors, or, if we're setting up a new client and our competitor is setting up a new client, am I going to leverage the quiet hours in the morning to get ahead and knock that client setup out now versus the other person who is waiting, maybe they value their sleep in the early morning, and I'm able to, to do more with, I'm putting in a little bit more time, but I'm leveraging my morning as a morning person to use those hours. I think that it's kind of like the workout thing where if you're, Kobe Bryant, who works out 4 times a day and he's leveraging that time to be 5 years better than you in 1 year because he's put in all of that time in a shorter span. So I think the other way too is, so AI, obviously ChatGPT and things like that. Dude, we do so much with Excel in our business, and I use Excel personally just for various things that I track. There's a lot of times where I need a formula, something as simple as taking dashes out of a certain cell in Excel, right? I don't want the dashes in here, or maybe it's a first and last name in one cell and I need to split it up for an import that I'm doing, and, need the first name in this cell and the last name in this cell. Instead of sitting there and one by one deleting and copying and moving those things over manually, I'll go to ChatGPT and be like, please provide me a formula that does X, Y, Z. It gives me the formula, I pop it in the cell, and it boom, done. Right. And now I've just got 15 more minutes back, and so I can continue focusing on what I need to do. So leveraging that, I think, is time arbitrage in and of itself, is finding those, leveraging AI and finding ways you can, and serving undervalued markets. So if there's a cool thing that you want to build, talking about business, if there's a cool thing you want to build, leveraging AI to build it and bring it to, you're not writing the story for somebody, you're leveraging AI to write the story for you, but you're marketing it as a really cool story. If you're a ghostwriter or whatever, to that person, then they can use it to market however they want. So there's a lot of tools, ChatGPT being the most well-known. We can say Opus Clip for this podcast. We're not one by one going in and cutting clips and sharing them on social media. We're leveraging AI. So our time is better well spent on the things that matter, the conversations we're having on this podcast, and we're not spending all the time trying to cut things up when we can leverage the tools that are in front of us.
That was a huge portion of the notes that I had as well. And there's a reason that AI is inarguably the hottest topic right now, whichever side you stand on it from extreme fear. You're probably embracing it somewhere if you're listening to this podcast. And the reason it is the topic, it is the internet back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Because it is arbitrage. It is taking away things that are low value and building a platform to use your more creative and analytical skills to actually build faster and with higher quality. So also from a technology standpoint, this is the industry that I built a career in, first back to master tax, just thinking about my career. And it's been all arbitrage. That's why people love software. And that's why it's such a lucrative business with high profit margins. You build something high quality that solves a very specific problem one time with maintenance and improvements that you're constantly iterating on, but is a fraction of the time it took to build out of the first place. Then it has a ripple affecting value for a low cost, whether it's now a SaaS subscription model is the primary way, that cascades value across the entire market, but it's something that you built once and then are maintaining and improving upon at a much lower percentage of time, effort, and resources. So technology in itself, like you hit it out the gate, is arbitrage, and why it is such a huge lucrative business. And now also a double-edged sword, the biggest distraction, because our attention is our currency. So that's a portion I want to get into here in a bit, but I'm glad we hit technology out the gate because it's the definition of arbitrage.
Yeah. And so here's my take on if someone's worried about AI or like, it scares them a little bit. Like if you're going to Google to try and find information, leverage ChatGPT, you'll get the same it's going to do the searching for you. So it's not doing anything different than what you're already doing. It's just giving you the data in real time. So that is in and of itself low value, overwhelmingly time conscious tasks or whatever that are taking a lot of time is what I'm trying to say. And leveraging that to spit out the information that you're seeking, as opposed to scanning Google for 20 minutes trying to find the answer. Leveraging that is time arbitrage. And so when ChatGPT came out 2 years ago, at first I was kind of like, what is this? Like I wasn't like fully on board with like, this kind of freaks me out. I'm going to create an account and then it's going to hack into everything and steal all my stuff and like whatever, right? It's like, what is this actually? And then you start using this, you're totally, it's eye-opening. If you're not already using ChatGPT, you're way behind the game. And then there's so many different apps and softwares out there that are doing the things that you're already doing. It's just taking away the time spent doing the research and just streamlines that whole process. So I'm glad we started there. Another thing is, it also allows you to access information that people don't already have to make better decisions. Right. And so especially if you're trying to start a new business or, you want to look up something, you're trying to figure out what it takes to build a new skill or whatever, you can leverage that technology and leverage those things to build those things faster and have them, the information readily available to make better decisions. So you're not guessing.
That's the one golden nugget from this. If you're not doing it already, just swap Google search, put ChatGPT on your phone and just watch how things grow and the different angles that you get by just making that switch. Huge nugget there. I wanted to talk about network arbitrage. We're coming out. Networks are one of the biggest arbitrage that there are. And, we talk about our Gento Men's group that we just wrapped up, a couple of weeks ago, our year-end meeting. And every time we leave that room, there is the arbitrage of we are there sharing thoughts, what we're going through, the edges that we are finding. And for each person that shares, 22 people get the benefit of how that problem is being approached. This is exponential growth. This is giver's gain that you, Nate Dominguez, all of the BNI guys and gals know is the secret sauce. And if you're working isolated without, only going through your learning, you have one case study, one example with experience after experience, decision after decision. If you're doing that in a silo, you're not getting feedback. You're not getting the multiple minds on one problem, or the secondary and third and fourth level consequences of the spread of these ideas. So know that you're a big fan of this. I have you to thank for being a part of Gento and something that is total arbitrage in my life.
Yeah, relationship building, network, being a master connector, if you will. We know a few guys in that group that are those connectors, and I try to be that as much as I can for other people. And having the Rolodex of people that you know, like, and trust that you can connect unprompted. Is that a word? Unprompted?
Yeah.
not prompted,
unprompted,
right?
organically is what I think of.
Like, hey, Phil, I got you. Like, I know you need something, or I know you're working on something, and I want to connect you with this person that I think could bring value and help you with that thing. You didn't ask me to introduce you to anybody. It was just a thought. It was not prompted. And that is network arbitrage, because it opens the door for connecting the dots and more opportunities for you guys, but also opens the door and more opportunities for yourself, because now they're like, dang, Stephen, thank you so much that was a great connection. We're starting to do some things together and really appreciate that, made my life easier or whatever. Now, the next time you might have someone or think of somebody, that'll come back my way. And that's not why you're doing it, though. That's the whole giver's gain mentality. I'm just giving to help you. And then maybe that'll come back tenfold, or maybe it won't. It doesn't matter. You just consistently give. And it does end up in the long run with all of the people you're giving to, it comes back to you in exponentially more than what you've even given, as long as you're, doing it across all across the board. So yeah, developing relationships is number one, especially if you're trying to grow a business or you're trying to, grow as a person. The more you can collaborate and bounce ideas off of and brainstorm with and just talk through things, you have to have relationships to be able to do that,
Absolutely.
And so having the network, in your circle, whatever that circle looks like, find those people that motivate and inspire you. And if you got people out there that are giving you advice that haven't gone or done the things that you want to do, you might want to find, a different group of people that can help you, because you might not want to take that advice. They don't have the experience.
100%. It's so spot on. And again, back to how we kicked off this podcast, these are things that you're probably doing. You're listening to this podcast. You're probably surrounding yourself with some like-minded people. This is that reminder. It's say it again and again, because we can go into those seasons where we kind of become a recluse or retract, try to get our what's closest to home in order, and we forget, myself included, the exponential effect of it is getting around like-minded people and the effects of that network.
Dude, I remember when we first started, we joined like the Chamber of Commerce or something. Mm-hmm. It was even before BNI stuff. And I had met someone at one of the lunch, like lead referral meeting. Like, we left after like a year. They were like, it was pretty brutal at times, but I still went. And never in the beginning, it was like, you never say no to a meeting at that time, because you're just trying to get the word out and bring awareness about your business and all this stuff. Well, I met one guy and he's like, yeah, I got a business I do the books for in California, another one I do the books for in Nevada. And it's like, let's give you a shot and whatever. And so we started working with that organization. Well, this guy now has probably referred us 10 or 15 clients over the course of our business. If I didn't go to that one Chamber of Commerce lunch, like that opportunity, like, even though I probably didn't even really want to, but I was connected and I was open to it. And that led the ripple effect of more future opportunities for growth. That also comes with, how are you running your business? What's the service level you're providing? And how are you handling, the staff that you bring on, and, and how's the culture and all those sorts of things. There's a lot that goes into that. But network arbitrage, those relationships, they should always be close or casual. They should never be like burning a bridge. You should always have people, like, never, unless it's like a complete crazy situation where you just need to cut that person out of your life because they're bringing you down. But always stay in touch with the people that have supported you along the way, whether it's a client or partner or a business associate or a team member or whatever. You never know where that arbitrage can come back, and you can leverage that for future success and those opportunities, because as soon as you burn that bridge, it's gone. And so casual relationships are just people you can reach out to every once in a while, and they'll reach out to you. But that was just something that happened because I'm actually we're setting up like 3 new clients that he's working with right now. And I was thinking back, I was like, when did I meet Kevin? That was, that was like the first 2 months of us starting our business. It's been rocking and rolling ever since.
Yeah, this is what makes the world go round. And when we reflect on the source of it, it reminds us to keep doing those actions because of the arbitrage. How about, since we are doing it right now, the whole reason we started the Success Flow podcast was to get our thoughts out of our head, bounce them off each other. But content arbitrage is something that you have really helped me realize, building up front, taking the time to spend on getting those thoughts out in a kind of a mass brain dump, and then peeling apart the individual thoughts, ideas, and aspects that then have an infinite value share across whoever finds it and then getting it into those people's hands. So content is probably right up there with AI and ChatGPT in regard to social media and how you're building digital real estate that will spread on for infinitely as long as there is a connection. So talk a little bit about that, because this is something that you've really helped me with over the past 3-4 years.
Yeah, I think the obviously me as a legacy guy. I think having things, you can do it various ways. You don't have to do it publicly. You can, which I do toy with that sometimes, where like social media posting and all this stuff. A lot of it is, the newsletter that I write every week. Those are just brain dumps of ideas or thoughts or words that I come across, and sharing a definition and a story about it and a mindset shift, which is kind of like the moral of the story. Getting that out allows me to, whether people read it or not, doesn't matter to me. I think it's cool when I do get comments back, but getting that out of your head allows me to realize various opportunities and allows me to think about things differently when I can read it back. So like I'll go back, I'll write something and then I'll read it back like a week later, and I'm like, or maybe in a month later or whatever, and be like, I remember when that thought prompted in my head and why it happened. And then like something else will pop into my head of like, oh, that's a really good idea. I should go look at that because I reread a previous thought that I had a month ago, just putting it out there. And so that's content that I share in a weekly email. Right. And it helps others, go through their own journey as well. But yeah, and then these podcast clips and, things like that, sharing on social media, it does give you that digital real estate. And, people, the more present you are, you can't help anybody if they don't know who you are. So it's just a way of bringing awareness to what you're up to. And, of course, you and I are always resources for anybody in our circle. And if there's anyone out there that's not necessarily in our personal, handshake circle, this is a way to reach them.
You just brought up such a great idea of mine that was not in my notes or hadn't even thought about it, and I'm staring at it right now. But the fact that it doesn't have to be published, we totally promote you putting something out there, those thoughts, that unique perspective that you have on life. Do get it out. If you don't want to publish it, start recording, but writing. Like these notebooks, when you talk about review, are a source of, man, I remember when I was going through that, when it was weighing on me heavy, and also some frustrations because some of the similar problems haven't gone away. When I paged back through, I'm like, how is this still a thing? How is this still something that is rearing its head? But that in itself is arbitrage. It is a tool that you can map to different moments of space and time where it brings you back to alignment on this bamboo path that we're trying to water. Just a simple notebook, pen and paper, complete arbitrage. Everything is arbitrage. Is that the moral of the story of this podcast?
I think so. Well, okay, dude, let me give you an example. I got my Vikings hat on. I got my Vikings little ceramic coin, piggy bank back there. The Vikings have leveraged arbitrage to like the most perfect level this year. As of right now, this recording, which I know is not going to get posted for a couple weeks, they're 12-2. Who knows what their record is? But who do they have at quarterback? Sam Darnold, paying him $10 million a year, undervalued. No, they're paying him like next to nothing for a starting quarterback in the NFL. They let go of Kirk Cousins, who's in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins got paid $90 million guaranteed on a $160 million 4-year contract. So they're out $65 million this year on Kirk Cousins, and he just got benched. So the Vikings are leveraging an undervalued quarterback to bring him in to potentially lead them deep in the playoffs. And they're in controlling their destiny, the number 1 seed, letting go a quarterback who was charging a premium to play for that team. They let them go. And there was some questions about that, right? But they leveraged an undervalued, they didn't have to pay Sam Darnold much. And now look where the team is. They were able to use that cash to rebuild their defense and do the things that they needed to have more of a team environment. And now they're crushing it. So in pro sports, you see that all the time with contracts, especially rookie contracts. Like the Niners had Brock Purdy paying him on a rookie deal, and they went to the Super Bowl last year, right? And so they're able to leverage these undervalued contracts, undervalued guys from a monetary standpoint to build and use those resources in other areas of their business, their team, and get them to reach, the goals that they're trying to get to. And so I think that was just a neat perspective of pro sports and how athletic contracts are. Like, what are the things that I don't want to pay for? And who are the guys that I can pay a little bit less that can do the job at a higher level? And it's not anything bad about the guy. It's just for some reason he was in a wrong situation before. He's a rookie. He hasn't proved himself. And so they have the opportunity to use those contracts as arbitrage to reach their the highest success as a team.
It really is. Arbitrage is everywhere. And you just triggered another instance, and we won't go too far down the sports train and wrap it up here, but noticing, I'm not a big Barstool guy, but it is everywhere. So you can't avoid it. And some of the stuff is so entertaining. They've built something special, but Gruden joining the Barstool team, like no one saw that coming, right? And again, the arbitrage of picking up a guy like that and his perspective on Barstool, and back to the NFL example, I caught a clip of him asking one of the guys at Barstool, I'll give you $10 for every player you can name on the Broncos defense, basically driving home the point. And the guy rattled off 2.
Yeah.
And he goes, I guess get $20. And that was his point, right? Was they are creating complete arbitrage without a bunch of name stars, young guys, undervalued guys. And they are a smoking defense, really tough football team, but there's arbitrage and double layers right there too. So I think
I went against the Broncos defense and got knocked out of the first round of the playoffs in my fantasy football league. So
That'll do it.
It's like the money ball, right? It's like the A's back in the day with Billy Beane, right? He'd leverage guys getting on base. He could care less what their batting average was. If they got on base, that you were on my squad.
That is the economics of arbitrage, and could be a whole different podcast. Maybe that's something for the future, Moneyball everywhere in life, but it's the same concepts, right? So as we wrap this up, kind of where we started, take a look around at your unique perspective in life. Steven's motto is opportunity is everywhere. This is the same concept, but almost helps you drill down a little deeper on your specific knowledge, your perspective, and your skills, and where you can create arbitrage in your life and get outstanding returns on your time, your energy, and your capital that you're spending to define success for yourself. I think that's really what we're.
Yeah, and I'll add the best way to do this, and the only way really I think you can do this, is you have to have self-awareness. You have to be aware of what's going on around you. You have to be aware of what's going on with yourself. You have to be opportunistic not in a negative way, but you have to see and discover the opportunities that are in front of you where you can leverage arbitrage. And you can't do that if you're not happy, healthy, and focused yourself. You have to figure that piece out first. And then you'll start seeing all of the various opportunities and the various ways where certain things are undervalued. And how do I take that thing and move it over here and make it a premium value? How can I bring that to the table and bring that into the world?
And I enjoyed this one. This was fun. It's a great way to kick off the year.
Go Vikings.
He means Rams. Please like and subscribe. Let us know what you're thinking from how you're bringing your perspective of arbitrage on the world. We'll be back at you next week, and we're looking forward to 2025 on the Successful Podcast.